Hello all, welcome back to Salesforce Sisters for the series User Stories related to Salesforce Case Management. In the last video, we were touching base on how to create the business requirement document, what is the information that you should be capturing for the Salesforce Case Management business requirement document. Today, we are going to talk about what are the fields that you need on the case and how to gather that requirement from business stakeholders. So fields are basically the values that you need on a case to review who sent the case, for example, when did they send it, what is it that they want, what's the subject, is that contact already existing into the system or it's a new contact? If they exist, are they related to any of your accounts or not? So these are some of the examples, but it can really vary differently for all the teams that you are serving on. So when you're talking to the business stakeholders, make sure you understand what are the business use cases behind those fields. So I'm not going to go into the discussion of business use cases, but once those business use cases are understood by you, you should have the following information to add into the business requirement document. What is the field name? What is the field type? Type basically can include options like pick list, text, long text, number, auto number, etc. So that defines what kind of data users can enter into that field. Field API name. This is, you can call it like a backend name. API name is used to refer to those field labels into the code if required, and a a thing to notice for the beginners is field name label. Label name can be updated if required later on, but field API name, because it's called in the code, so it might not be that feasible or advisable to change the API name. So in future, if team comes in and says we use the field name as category and now we need it as type. So you might not need to update the API name in the code where all it is referred to, but you can easily change the field label name as the new requirement. You obviously have to do the discovery on the implications of that change first. A very important information that you should be asking the business stakeholders: do you want that field on the page layout or not? On the page layout means that it will be visible to the end users, and not means it's there in the backend, maybe for some reporting purpose or for um, some managers have access to it, not all the teammates have access to it. So that really depends. Do you want that field? Who should have access to that field? And then what are the field properties? Do you want a manual input during submission from the creator of the case? Do you want it to auto-populate from somewhere, or do you want it to leave it blank in the beginning? And once the team begins to review, will they be giving the inputs for that field? For example, created by is a field on a case. Once the case is created, whoever sent that email from their email ID, we can get the created by information if that user already exists in the system. So there is no manual input required, it gets auto-populated. But the subject line, it's going to be entered by the system when the case gets created there. So there are different options here. And then, is there any default value? Do we want to, for example, status? Status can be new, and that's a default value. If we have a field called status, it's always new when the case comes in first. When the case gets assigned to somebody, we can mark it maybe in progress or assigned, and then once they are done with their review, the status would move to close. So the default value here is close. So these are some of the field attributes that you need to collect while creating the case. I can show you some examples of the fields that I have collected for very basic case that needs to be created. Who's the case owner? What's the account name? If the user who has sent the case, if their email ID is already attached to any contact in Salesforce, so we pull that contact and add it here. That helps the reviewer to review the information on that contact, maybe address information, maybe other information if that contact is associated to any account. So we can have an account name and that can get auto populated. And that's a standard feature from Salesforce as well. Those are standard fields. If there's any opportunity, if you want it or not. Priority usually helps the teammates to define which field to pick first and which case to pick first and which one to pick later. So these are some of the examples. You must know these are the field labels. So what's the field type, what is gonna use for, and then the different attributes of the fields as we discussed before, the on the page layouts, who should have access to it, and then what are the field properties, what should be the default values, etc. So this is the basic information that you would need while creating the BRD for Salesforce case management. Thank you.